Hey guys, Charles here with Charles Harrison Music. So I want to talk about picking. I've had a big breakthrough with picking, and it's going to seem one of those really obvious things that's been right under my nose the whole time. It's probably something I've realised before, but I never realised how important this was. And that is, of course, first of all, the most difficult thing about picking is actually changing strings, because most people can do their Van Halen impression. Maybe not as well as Van Halen, but we can pick really, really fast. And then what happens, of course, is when we try and coordinate the hands, and we suddenly go to switch string, things start getting messy. Now, the way that I've always solved this problem, when I say always, this is the way that recently, I've been playing guitar for about 15 years now, and the way I used to try and do it is always try and do alternate picking for everything, and things would just get messy, this sort of sound. But I would think, yeah, I'm shredding. I think that was cool. Of course, it's not cool. It's rubbish. The way I've solved that problem is with economy picking. So I've shredded through with economy picking in the past. Same on the way down, although I've always found the descending a bit harder. But anyway, with those shapes, when I'm nicely warmed up, I've got to the point. Anyway, look through some of my previous videos if you want to see me doing that nice and cleanly. But economy picking is great. Now, economy picking, if you don't know, is sweeping, sharing a downstroke over two strings, or sharing an upstroke when you're coming back over two strings. So the first thing I'm going to do before I give you the breakthrough is I'm going to tell you the 3 ways that you can pick through some strings. Now, I do want to give a little shout out here to my boy Troy Grady over at Cracking the Code, because I've been watching Troy's videos since Cracking the Code Series 1, and by the way, do sign up to his website. I'm not going to say anything in this video that you have to pay for on his website. There's so much free content from Cracking the Code. I don't think there's any secrets that he hasn't put on YouTube for free. But just in case, I'm just going to be careful, because I don't want to. I have signed up to his website previously in the past. It's one of those websites where just buy a month and see what you think. Now, some people will get like a benefit from signing up monthly. I'm one of these people who likes to cram, so I sort of signed up for 1 month and just absorbed as much as I could, and then about a year later I signed up for another month to sort of refresh my memory and look at some of the new content. So it might be good to do that. So the 3 ways to get between the 2 strings, across 2 strings. I'm just going to take the first 3 notes on each string of A major. Okay, so the first way to do it is with pure alternate picking. Okay, in fact, I'll turn this way so you can see my picking hand more. Okay, I'll hold my guitar cowboy style, you might see a bit clearer. Okay, now I'm deliberately doing that messy because I'm trying not to do the secret yet. I'm going to get to that in a moment, okay? Now the point is that it is messy. It's inherently messy doing this. It's difficult. That's about my maximum speed. And it's just falling to pieces, okay? So we need a solution. Well, there's another way of doing it, and that is economy picking that I've just talked about. So that would be down, up, down, down, up, down. You hear already how much faster that is. And also you can go straight through the strings. Ah, I'm getting warmed up. It doesn't take long. But you see, my right hand's doing a lot less work with that one. Okay, now the third approach, this is Michelangelo Batio, or Batio, however you say it. This was his breakthrough on Cracking the Code. This is down, up, down, But on that third downstroke, when you're moving from one string to the next, you go straight through 2 strings. So it's down, up, through. Now, when I make a big chunk of it like that, you can really hear what's happening. I'm now on the other side of the A string, ready to go up. So it's alternate picking. But I'm actually playing 2 strings at once for there. Now, if I don't, the way you stop this sounding is by muting the A string. If I don't mute the A string, you'll hear it. I'm getting a chord there. Oh. Well, I don't want the chord, so I'm going to mute that A string, do exactly the same thing. So I'm now on the other side of the A string. You haven't heard the note, but it's sort of cheating. But there's nothing wrong with cheating. It's cheating in a good way. So it's down, up, through, up, down, up, through, up, down, up, through, up, down, up. Yeah? Now, when you know what you're listening out for, you can probably hear those transitions. And this isn't something I practice very much. So, of course, Michelangelo Bertia, well, obviously he can do it better than me, but he's subconsciously practiced this. So if you actively practice this and actually try and make it sound as nice as you can. There you go, that was sounded quite pleasant. You can't really hear that there's something funny going on there. However, there are ways to get around it, like I've just demonstrated. So you can do pure alternate picking, but it's really difficult. You can do economy picking, and it's nice and smooth. That's the one that's always worked best for me. I think it's actually because I did a lot of Yngwie work. I was obsessed with Yngwie for well, I say a while, a good few years. Like I said, I've been playing for 15 years, so a good few years of those I was obsessed with Yngwie. However, just for my, I suppose for my pride's sake, actually, more than just to be honest, I wanted to be able to do it alternate picking. The Yngwie style is great with all the sweeping economy style, a bit of Eric Johnson as well that I've learned using a similar approach. Again, if you watch Cracking the Code, Troy Grady will break all this down for you, and these amazing animations and stuff. It's really brilliant, completely free on YouTube. Brilliant resource. The sweeping of Yngwie, I always used to do those 3 notes. Let's see if I can still do, Fire and Ice, was it? That's it. Fire and Ice by Yngwie. That sort of thing. I used to work on loads of that stuff. Used to. Whatever it is. So that sweep picking stuff, which I used to work on loads, I don't do this sort of thing anymore. 3 note per string, not 3 note. 3 note arpeggio. God, it's difficult. Yeah, no, you see, actually, I proved the point there. I don't work on that stuff anymore, and I should do because I've lost the knack. If you go on my Instagram, I think about 2 years ago I did a cover of that, which was pretty good. So anyway, let's go back to the original point. I want to be able to alternate pick these things, just for my pride's sake, just because I don't want to choose to do a technique because I can't do it another way. I want to have options and choose the one that's musically most appropriate, okay, as well as anything else. But of course, as well, we all, as guitarists, we all just want to shred, let's be honest. So how do we solve this problem? Well, my breakthrough, here's the breakthrough. I know I've made you wait 9 minutes for it. There's only 4 possible ways that you can get from one string to the next. And if you can practice just with 2 strings, there's no other combination that you will find, even when you're going all the way across the neck. So a nice thing to do is start master just moving between 2 strings, then master moving between 3. If you can do 2 already, moving between 3 will be very, very easy. Moving between 4, it won't feel any different. 5, 6, and if you're lucky enough to have 7 strings, this is discontinued now, I've just found out. You won't be able to get an HH7 anymore, so if there are any on the Kiesel website, buy them up because it's a friggin' lovely guitar. It's unbelievable, life-changing axe this. And my last guitar was lovely as well, the blue one you saw in all my videos. I was so happy with that guitar, and it's just sitting there now. Look, there he is. Where is he? There. He's just sitting there. With all these other guitars are just sitting there. I've got an Ibanez RG, I do actually play my blue one a little bit, and the headless as well. The arc guitars, which you've seen the telly style, it's a lot heavier than this one, so it's got a lot of beef to it. So I do like that. I've been working on some country stuff recently, and then Ibanez semi-hollow style, covered in the Tree of Life Steve Vai style, but it's not a Steve Vai guitar. It's a bit too. If anyone's seen the In-Betweeners, it is a little bit jazzy. Okay, I'm not a particularly jazzy kind of guy. This is about as extreme as I can get away with. This stunning bell top. Oh. Okay, anyway, you're probably sick of me blabbering on. Here's the breakthrough. 4 ways to get between 2 strings. You can either have an even number of notes or an odd number of notes, and any combination. So you can have even to even, odd to odd, odd to even, and even to odd, and that is it. Now, you might think there's so many more ways, but look, it doesn't matter. If you're doing 1 note per string, which, by the way, actually the fewer notes there are, the harder it is. If you're doing 1 note per string, Steve Morse stuff, I've been using this as a warm-up recently. That's really tough. I'm going a bit too fast here. Anyway, that sort of sound. 1 note per string, that's really tough. Now, 1 note per string is exactly the same picking as you move from one string to the next, as if you were doing another odd number, such as 3 notes per string. Look, down on the E string, up on the A string. Now, if I go 3 notes back to my A major shape, down, up, up. So the actual transition from one string to the next is exactly the same. It doesn't matter if I'm doing 1 note per string, 3 notes per string, 5 notes per string. I'll just practice that one. Okay, 5 notes, but it doesn't matter how many notes per string you're doing. If it's an odd number, you are going to be playing the next string with an opposite stroke to what you started this string on. So what do you need to practice? Well, you need to practice 1 note per string and 3 note per string, and I need to practice 5 note per string because that was shocking. So 1 note per string, a nice shape that I like to use is this major 9. Now I'm going across 4 strings here, but you will just start on the first 2 strings, set your metronome going, and see how fast you can go today. Then next week, see how fast you can beat it by half a BPM. Then the week after that, if you can beat that by half a BPM and it stays clean, okay. Then again, it doesn't matter if you're doing 3 notes. I go to my bridge pickup. Okay, so the secret here, what you'll be practicing really, is moving between a down and an up. This is again, cracking the code. They call this a supination, and I can't remember. He's got this mechanical jargon, but basically rotate like turning a key. Okay, so you've got down, up, rotate, and you see my picks now upward slant. So I'm twisting like this as I pick, as I transition strings, I should say. And I do the same, look, if I'm doing 1 note per string. Oh, messy. Okay, anyway, so these are all things, like, like I've been saying, I've been able to shred through phrases really easy, and all 4 of these are really hard for me. So what do I need to practice? Just these 4. If I can master these 4 at a really decent speed, I can't think of a single possible lick I would not be able to play. Unless, of course, it was faster than whatever speed I mastered each of these at. But so let me give you 4 examples, and then I'll call it a day here. So these are your 4 possible picking combinations. So Let's start with even, even. Okay, so even, even, a really nice thing you can do to practice. First of all, is just, let's go 5-7 on the E string, 5-7 on the A string. And you're working on trying to get it as clean as possible. As soon as it's not clean anymore, like that speed there, I would slow it down. And with this one, you use a downward pick slant. So my pick would be, that's parallel to the strings. What's that? 90 degrees to the strings. And I'm tilting it down towards the floor. That gets it nicely up in the air after the upstroke. I'm over exaggerating that, but you can see the movement there. You can move that through the strings. Just 5-7 on each string. Now, that's going to be exactly the same picking as if you were doing 4 notes per string, like your classic John Petrucci chromaticism. And if you can't get a decent speed like that, now I find that really difficult actually. Again, that's why I'm going to be practicing it. I find downward pick slanting is just slow. It's like there's a break or some just extra resistance or something. But it is the best way to do it, just physically, in terms of the laws of physics. So you can just sit and practice, and I need to do this myself. Sit and just practice a tremolo style with a downward pick slant. See, that's so much slower than if I went with an upward pick slant. See how fast I can do that? Downward pick slant. Ah. So I need to work on that. Okay, so that's even, even. So next one, which I really like, would be odd, odd. Now that's the ones I've just been showing you, the 1 notes per strings or the 3 notes per string, so you need to practice those. And that's with this rotate. Again, all of these are so tough. These are the hardest fragments that you can possibly practice. Next one is odd, even. So a nice shape for odd even is just like a major or a minor arpeggio. So 5 on the E string, which is just 1 note, that's our odd. And then 4-7 on the A string. And you're going to cycle through that with alternate picking. Again, so tough. I wish I'd known about these shapes 15 years ago, and I've been practicing them for 15 years. So the way to do this is a downstroke with your pick leaning upwards. Up. Down. Up, down. Then rotate for the upstroke. So you're rotating every 3 notes. Starting on an upstroke. Ah, tough. And finally, even odd becomes, you could go 5-9-7 instead of, so 5 and 9 on the E string, and then 7 on the A string. I prefer that one. I say I prefer it. Okay, so that is, in terms of alternate picking, that is all my practice is going to consist of for the next 2-5 years, something like that. I'm not going to waste my time trying to learn specific patterns, unless, of course, I'm learning a transcription, I'm learning tune. But rather than just, like, what I used to do, I'm sure you guys do this as well. I'd find something difficult from a song, and then I would extract it, learn that difficult thing, and then not bother learning the rest of the song, because, well, that's easy. So a good example of that would be like the Glass Prison arpeggios, which I learned to alternate pick. Again, if you want to see me doing that, I've got some takes on Instagram. I generally just record shreddy stuff on Instagram rather than putting it up here, but I like to try and teach here with mixed success probably. So things like that, I'll just learn the arpeggios and then not bother learning the rest of the tune. I have learned that song now. I will actually probably, I'm going to vow to do a cover of The Glass Prison. I'll do that at some point over the next couple of months. I'll really work on that. And what's another example? Monster Rag by Brad Paisley. Learning to do that opening riff, so difficult. That there, I would just sit and practice that. But I've pretty much got that. Again, if I sit there and practice that for an hour or so, I can get it quite clean. And a few other examples from Eric Johnson stuff as well, like what's that one? I had some of those quite good in the past, but then don't learn the rest of the track. So, of course, all of those runs, they're fun to learn, but they're all made up of one of those, well, combinations of those 4 patterns, and I haven't broken them down into those core elements. I'll have noticed this before, not bothered doing it. It's completely ridiculous. So I'm going to finish by just giving you those 4 demonstrations one more time, then I promise I'll shut up and go. Even. That's with a downward pick slant. Odd. That's just 5, 6, 7, or you can go 5, 7, 9 on each string. Doesn't matter, you can play any notes you want. Messy, needs practice. What's next? Odd even. 5, 4, 7. And finally, even odd. 5, 9, 7. I find those arpeggios a little bit easier because I've learned quite a few things along those lines, but they're not fast enough and they don't feel good, so I need to slow them down and build them up with a metronome. Then, of course, you practice doing those across 3 strings, across 4 strings, across 5 strings, across 6 strings and 7 strings. And that's my current picking target. So presumably, like me, you are trying to learn things, full licks, full runs from songs, and that still do that. But think about them in terms of this. Think, well, how does that relate to C. Hizzle's? That's me. How does that relate to Charles's picking groups? Okay, they're not my picking groups, of course. Everyone's noticed this. I sort of got this by reading between the lines of Troy Grady. I don't think he's ever explicitly said this, but it was just through all the examples. He gives so many examples, which is great, but it can be a bit overwhelming as well. I thought, well, okay, what have all these examples got in common? Why is he giving us these? And I want to break it down into a really simple toolkit. So hopefully that's what this video is. So let's see some of your clips. You can tag me in on Instagram, you practicing your little groups here. I'll finish with one last lick actually, which is from a song. This is something I could never play, and I practiced it for ages, and I did get this, which was from Wonderful Slippery Thing. There is a cover of me doing Wonderful Slippery Thing on my YouTube channel, but I'll maybe do a nicer, a new version. It's this lick that Guthrie does. That's really fast. And I remember when I was 15 or 16, and I was preparing for my Berkeley audition, and I was sitting there and I just couldn't get even close to that. I could legato it, which I can't do very well anymore. But oh my God, picking that man's got. Anyway, I'll stop before you all realise I'm an imposter. Take care, enjoy your practice. I'm going to do some more practice now. I don't know why I put my guitar down because I'm going to get straight to work. See you in the next one. Cheers.